Good day, friends, and welcome to the second podcast of the Asia Pacific Initiative. Today, we will be discussing China's illegal, coercive, aggressive, and deceptive tactics in the West Philippine Sea. Uh, it's not entirely a new term, but the Philippine Navy has coined this term to highlight China's illegal activities and presence inside our 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. China, is claiming almost the entire South China Sea, including I think almost the all parts of our EEZ, no? And in fact, they have occupied some of our inhabited features, including Scarborough Shoal or the Panatag Shoal, or what we know as Baho de Masinloc. So, thank you very much for coming to today's podcast. Colonel Densio Acop, our good friend from Boston, USA, former West Point graduate, and former Army Colonel, no? And of course, our good friend from Washington, D.C., Mr. Rodney Haleco, who is fresh from his Canadian vacation. So, guys, what do you think about this illegal and coercive, aggressive, deceptive tactics of China? Is this China's way of shifting their tactics from the gray zone, or is just another term for the gray zone tactics they're using? Una natin si Colonel Ako.
Thank you, Manny. Good to see you again, Manny and Rodney. And maganda sana kung merong nakaka-interact din itong mga whoever's listening to us para malaman natin yung iniisip nila and we can discuss further. Pero sa aking palagay, yung ginagawa ng China is not really nothing new, di ba? Parang, I think it's more of the same, really. Yung recent incident na yun, actually, marami nga tayong pwedeng isipin doon di ba? Parang hindi mo malaman kung accidental yun or even a little bit deliberate, the way China operates na medyo mahilig sila sa gray zone, vague, ganyan. Baka gusto lang nila ring ipakita o i-display or i-demonstrate to anyone who's looking na yung mga kakayahan nila, di ba? Ito yung gagawin ng armed forces namin sa mga sa mga kalaban namin, di ba? Dahil siguro, pero magaling din talaga sila maingat sila alam nila yung mga rules of the game, di ba? So Filipino vessel yung kanilang binangga talaga in a very violent way. Siyempre merong kakaroon ng consequence na maybe they're not yet ready to face at this time, right? So pero gusto lang ipakita na ito yung lakas namin, di ba? Don't mess with us kasi ganitong mangyayari. Parang gano'n ang tingin ko dyan But kahit na hindi pa gumagalaw talaga yung whether it is yung kanilang gray ship, the fact remains na nandiyan naman na sila they're just nandun lang sila, di ba? Pero malaki ang ibig sabihin talaga nila for a lot of people who do not yet fully realize yung nangyayari, the realities and symbolisms of things. People everywhere should understand na pinapakita ng China na gumagamit lang sila ng white ship kasi sa kanila daw yung yung South China Sea, di ba? Di ba pag teritoryo mo, Coast Guard lang ang gagamitin mo, di ba? Kasi teritoryo mo yun, di ba? Ayaw nilang gamitin as much as possible yung kanilang gray because that is like an admission na hindi amin ito. We are di ba? We are entering the territory of others. And that's actually war. That's actually a warlike behavior kasi syempre pag ginawa ng kahit sinong bansa yun, it's like an act of war, right? So, pero hindi amin ito sabi ng China. Itong South China Sea na to, amin ito. Kayo nga yung kayo nga yung nagbabiolate kasi amin to And that hasn't changed. That is a constant, even up to now, yung lingwahe nila nga, baliktad nga di ba? Sa Pilipinas daw na napakaliit na bansa ang nagbabiolate ng kanilang rights, which is really illogical and even funny when you think about it. That's why sa mga post ko kumisa sinasabi ko yun na ano ba naman to, parang I've seen this before when I was fighting the local communist insurgency na merong sasabihin yung kalaban na palang propaganda, na it's always the same. Pero I don't know why the communist line is like that though, na hindi nagbabago talaga They keep on saying it repeatedly over and over again, kahit na masyadong obvious, di ba? I think it's more for the unchanging propaganda effect of it. So sa tingin ko, parang pareho din naman na Manny. I think China is saying na whatever happens, andito lang kami, ito yung kakayahan namin. If you do something stupid, baka mag-react kami, no? But at the same time, syempre alam ng China na nasa likod ng ang Pilipinas yung Amerika. So syempre it's calculated. And also, wag nating kalimutan na ang punteriya ng China hindi naman talaga yung Pilipinas lang It's really looking at Taiwan. Kaya lang ay magkakaroon ng involvement ang Pilipinas pag ginawa nila yon kasi kaya nga sila siguro partly na nasa Pilipinas kasi kailangan nila yung foothold na yon as we can see in the Spratlys siguro and everything right within our shores na pwede nilang kasi pagka nagkaroon talaga ng confrontation hopefully not in this day and age even war sabihin na natin kahit sinong protagonist kailangan niya yung lahat di ba? It's a total concept. So siyempre merong strategic value sa China yung kanilang foothold even within the Philippines. So I've been saying things about even yung AI data centers kasi kabit-kabit lahat yan yung communication, yung everything, even yung commercial, they're all connected to the strategic national interest objectives of China. So that's how China looks at it from the big picture, really. So it's really more of the same, Manny, the way I see it. Parang ito, so ito yung sitwasyon natin.
So salamat, Colonel. So Rodney, what can you say about?
Yeah, yung basic question na kung nag-shift, no, I don't think it shifted the Chinese strategy or activities. Didn't really shift as much as it evolves, no? Alam mo yun, kaya nga ngayon yung nag-evolve yung Chinese military doctrines and strategy, kailangan natin sabayan Kaya siguro naisip ni AFP Chief General Bronner na i-redefine, no? Kasi yung gray zone malabo by the mere term na gray zone medyo malabo it's not definitive, no? But yung paggamit ng illegal, coercive, aggressive, deceptive na term, sinimula ni General Bronner yon to state clearly that the threat to the Philippines in the West Philippine Sea is military, pero hindi yung overt, no? Yung kinetic type of military threat. Pero it refers to yung strategy ng China na mag-assert ang territorial claims nila and to control it, no? Kaya Manny, I think yung recent decision na mag-declare ng nature reserve, no, sa Scarborough Shoal is an indication na sa tingin ng China na-achieve na nila yung part of their goals sa Scarborough Shoal, which is control, no? So they are not trying to legitimize their stay there, although medyo hypocritical. Di ba? Kasi if you remember, kaya nagsimula yung tension sa Scarborough Shoal nung panahon ni President Noynoy Aquino is kasi the Philippine Navy was trying to arrest Chinese fishermen who were destroying the environment, no? So, yung nag-harvest sila ng mga giant clams na protected species, no? Tapos ngayon, sinasabi nila they are in Scarborough Shoal to protect the environment. Medyo hypocritical yung pero tama si Colonel Acop na you have to look at this from the larger Chinese perspective, yung strategy nila na long term. Kasi like for example, itong according to a retired Japanese admiral, no, si Katsuya Yamamoto, sabi niya na yung Chinese non-military organizations like the Coast Guard and the People's Armed Police, yung tinatawag natin na militia, no, yung mga fishing boats, ngayon is directly under the control of the People's Liberation Army. So na-militarize na nila yung mga non-government nila. Yung Coast Guard is now Chinese Coast Guard is now effectively a military organization as far as the Chinese are concerned. So you can see how they're using it, no? In combination with the PLA Navy, no? Warships, yung mga gray ships nila, at saka yung white ships o yung white ships ng Coast Guard, iisa na lang yon. So I think the Philippines is also trying to cope with that change, no? Yung shift na yon, yung evolution ng Chinese military structure. Pero makikita natin, Mogs, no, na it's still something a work in progress kasi nagbanggaan nga yung Chinese Coast Guard tsaka yung collision nila, no, near Scarborough Shoal noong August. They are still trying to perfect yung common command and control ng Coast Guard nila tsaka yung Navy nila, no. So I think it's not a matter of shifting, it's a matter of evolving. Na ano nila na they're trying, I think in Chinese perspective, na-achieve na nila some of their initial goals, no? And they're now moving to a next step, no? They are evolving. So sumasabay yung strategy and doctrines nila. So kaya, di ba, yung 9-dash line 1930s concept pa yan Wala pa yung Communist Party of China nung time na yan. So, nung 2023, they came out with a 10-dash line na ngayon kasama na ang Taiwan, no? So, and parts of India. So, you can see, na talagang nag-evolve yung nila sa tingin nila, na-achieve na nila part of their goals sa 9-dash line And now they're moving, no?
So, Rodney, dahil banggit mo na yung collision between the PLA destroyer and the Chinese Coast Guard cutter, nakikita nyo ba, Sir Dennis at Rodney, ang escalation dito? At do you think this is already a red line na dapat nating mabahala na sa mga lalang sitwasyon dyan sa West Philippine Sea? So, Karen, ang tingin nyo? Red line na ba to?
Sa tingin ko, hindi pa. I think kung basahin natin yung reading between the lines sa mga pronouncements ng spokespeople ng China pag nagsasalita sila, I think, syempre, sinasabi lang nila yung mga linya ng Chinese Communist Party, which really looks at everything from a long-term perspective and their overall strategic global pa nga global goals, no? So, syempre, may mga tanong kasi dyan For example, kailan ba talaga nila lulusubin yung Taiwan, for instance, di ba? Are they really ready na? Nakakasana ba? Ngayon na, pwede na. So, depende, di ba? Kung ready na sila, then I think they're ready for anything really. Pero kung hindi pa, baka meron pa silang dinidevelop na something militarily, politically, or socio-culturally. Kasi huwag natin kalimutan na yung China as much as possible, gusto niyang mabawi yung Taiwan kung pwede lang without violence. Diba? Yung makukuha sa war, yung psychological. Diba? China has been exerting tremendous pressure upon Taiwan these past years, even before Xi Jinping pa nga So, there's one side of their argument, even sa party, na parang iniisip nila na sobra-sobra na itong pressure na binigyan natin sa fellow Chinese in Taiwan. And we must remember also na yung mga families nila, there are so many relatives, between Taiwan and mainland China. So, ang daming saywar na nangyayari na hindi masyadong obvious externally, but I think some people in the party believe na with that it will be enough to make Taiwan capitulate from the inside without having to go to war. Parang ganoon di ba? So siyempre kasama diyan yung kung gusto niyo ng giyera, well, kaya namin, we can crush you anytime, ganyan sabi ng China. Pero kung po pwede lang, huwag tayong pumunta doon kasi tinan mo naman, look at what is at stake. Parang gano'n, di ba? There are so many of your families here and there who are going to, to suffer for it. And syempre, alam naman natin yung style ng China din Syempre, they get to the relatives of people in Taiwan who are in mainland China. They exert a lot of pressure, that kind of pressure. Di ba? So maraming ganyan na nangyayari And we must also remember na marami ring Chinese agents within Taiwan itself. So, there's a part na parang confident yung yung China na makukuha nila yung Taiwan even without having to invade it So, pero dinadanggal nila palagi yung invasion. Nandiyan na palagi yung display of military capability to invade Taiwan and really, make it capitulate kung ayaw niya. Yung ganun ba? So there's a lot of that pressure, left hand, right hand approach. So I think there's a part that naniniwala yung China na hindi bibigay yung Taiwan na yan. We don't have to invade it. Siguro if not 2027, around that time, ganyan So merong ganun So para bang, pero lahat na ginagawa ng China, it really looks to the outside world as if China is going to war. Di ba? Kikita mo, lahat na ginagawa, yung preparation for war nandyan whether sa Philippines, in the South China Sea, or yung si Rodney kanina hit on something na and gusto kong ipasok yun yung civilian military integration strategic concept of China. Talagang they're a total, di ba? They are a total country, army, you name it. The Chinese Communist Party is China, the People's Liberation Army is China. Total concept talaga sila may nakalimutan ako but so ganun yung approach nila na you remember before there was nung malakas yung Japan, ang tawag natin sa kanila Japan Incorporated, iisa lang sila. Si China na ngayon yan. China is that one. China, pag sinabi mong iisa lang sila. So yung sinabi ni Rodney kanina about using the militias, the Coast Guard, totoo yun. Talagang weaponize lahat ng People's Liberation Army because they are a one China total concept globally even. So if you sa even sa LinkedIn nga yung mga news threads I've been following yung yung mga intelligence analysts from different parts of the world. Sinasabi nga nila yung China nga they've crept everywhere. Their presence is global. They're right at the doorstep of America, for instance. yung kanilang civilian-military integration, nandiyan na. Why do we say this? Kasi yung results ng BRI nila, nandoon na sa Western and East Coast, for example, ng Latin America, which is right there in near the Bahamas, near the Dominican Republic. Di ba near abroad na ng Amerika? So so parang parang kung matatakutin ang mga tao, people will think na like some people here in America, no? My goodness, yung China is really knocking at our doorstep, dati in the 1930s, so red scare lang tayo no time ng McCarthyism. But now, ito talaga yung this is reality now. And and the world is overwhelmed by it. The world does not know how to react to it. Di ba dati, right after World War II, di ba, domino effect theory, yun ang fear ng Amerika, di ba? Communism will invade the world and defeat democracy. Kaya nga napunta sa Cold War, and then it is sometimes ironic na masyado yung focus ng Amerika sa Soviet Union back in the day, during the Cold War. That's communist too, right? Pero wala na yun Ngayon it's China kasi nga masyadong hindi na pinansin ng Amerika yung China So China has been gradually developing its power. Tapos it was hiding it though, 'di ba? Hindi pinapahalata kasi ng China 'yon yung bide your time and sabi ni Deng Xiaoping, 'di ba? So pinapasok ni Nixon pa yung China nung time niya dahil nag-away yung China and Soviet Union at the time. So napunta and from that moment on in 1971, 1972, lumakas na yung ekonomiya ng China, and that is why it is such a economic superpower now. And now all of a sudden the US under Trump is pushing back. Pero it's maybe a little too little too late, parang sabi nga, di ba? So I think China now is at that place wherein its confidence is really high. Okay, so going back to the South China Sea, parang it may not be yung strategically ready yet because of Taiwan, but I think China is ready kung sakaling the Philippines fires the first shot and things escalate. I think China can say, sige, kung gusto mo ng labo-labo, di maglabo-labo tayo. Kahit na pumasok pa ang Amerika, pero I don't think na America is that strong here in this part of the world today than it was before. I do not know if the US can pull another World War II. Suddenly, lalakas siya. Its military-industrial complex will go into high gear just like that. I don't know kung kayang ulitin ng Amerika yun at this point. Pero China, it believes na it can take on the United States, I think, in the Asia-Pacific region. That's what I think. And so, but at the same time, iniisip nila na hindi naman bobo yung mga Amerikano na yun, sabi rin ng China they know na no one wins a nuclear war, so it's not going to be like that. Kung merong mangyayari, it's going to be a conventional confrontation. And in that sense, conventionally, I think China thinks that it can take on the United States at this point, even in the South China Sea. So given that, parang ano ba naman yung Pilipinas? Di ba? Kasi yung Pilipinas naman, ang strength lang naman niya talaga, Amerika On its own naman talaga, we have nothing to defend ourselves against China except our words. But words will not.
So Rodney, what's your take on this?
Yeah, sa akin dito kasi, it only shows the importance of defining the conflict properly. Kaya, Manny, I think tamang-tama, very timely yung ginawa ni General Bronner na nire-define niya yung gray zone. Kasi itong illegal, coercive, aggressive, deceptive tactics ng China, it worked, Kasi dito sa 9-dash line nila. So, now that they're pursuing a 10-dash line that will include Taiwan, parts of Indonesia and Malaysia, and parts of India, yung Indian Ocean, we can expect na they will use the same tactics against these countries. Yung non-kinetic warfare ang gagamitin nila dito to effectively control the area that they want, no? Kasi nag-expand na nga sila eh. So, tingin ko, as the days wear on, and sinasabi nila na may deadline raw ang China, no? To control
Taiwan.
To invade Taiwan. I think we will see an escalation, Manny, no? Ng the same kind of tactics that China is using against the Philippines and Vietnam, they will now be using against Taiwan and the other countries, no? Yung sa Indian Ocean, sa Malaysia, Indonesia. So, the only way we can counter that is strength through numbers, Manny, no? So, nakakatuwa na NATO is coming in, no? Like for example, yung Great Britain, no? They're, I think, pursuing a DFA with the Philippines. Australia, DFA, Japan as DFA. Kasi tingin ko, Manny, eventually it will affect them also eh. Kasi China is expanding, no? Their ultimate goal is to expand their scope of control sa region. I think they're doing the same things that the US has been doing for so long, no? They're pushing the possible conflict areas farther away from their border. Ayaw nila na magkaroon ng if war comes to war, ayaw nila na sa lupa nila mangyayari yung or sa oceans nila mangyayari yung gera, no? The farther away the conflict is waged, then that is the objective of China. So sa tingin ko, Manny, yun ang challenge for the Philippines and other countries na lupa nila mangyayari yung or sa oceans nila mangyayari yung gera, no? The farther away the conflict is waged, then that is the objective of China. So sa tingin ko, Manny, yun ang challenge for the Philippines and other countries na they should recognize, no? And ito nga si Admiral Paparo was the first to endorse yung ICAD, no? Yung when it was introduced by General Browner, he embraced the concept kasi as the Chinese objectives evolve, there is a clear need, no? Critical need to understand yung ano yung doctrines nila, ano yung objectives nila, kasi through doctrines I guess you can Akop would be more familiar with these concepts, no? Na yung pag nakita mo yung doctrine ng kalaban mo, makikita mo kung ano yung objectives niya, no? So alam mo, China magaling, sabi na ni Kaya, magaling magtago yan eh. They will never admit na they are the imperialists, eh. They are the aggressors. Sila laging naapi eh, di ba? Yan ang pinapalabas nila. So we can only unmask them, no? And that is I guess the ultimate weapon. Kaya nga parang ang strategy ni General Browner is transparency, no? Assertive transparency nga ang tawag niya, na kailangan i-expose natin ng China, no, for what they really are, no, for what they really are after. Yeah, kasi kala natin safe tayo eh. Ito, sinasabi nga ni Colonel Akop, yung China, mayroong mga police stations dito sa Amerika eh. Nag-open ng mga small police outposts ng China through their embassies and consulates dito sa North America, no, sa Canada, sa US. And they're using that to surveil their own citizens, no? And at the same time, obviously, hub ng intelligence, spy hubs yan, ano? So, we are already at war with China. Ayaw lang nila ipalabas na we are at war, no? That they already declared war. Non-kinetic na, Manny eh. So, yun ang dapat nating i-recognize, no? That's
So, nabanggit mo, Rodney, yun ng kinetic, ano? Kasi ngayon may term na ginagamit yung mga military experts, sinasabi nilang asymmetrical warfare, no? So, yung asymmetrical warfare that parang nagbibigay ng lakas doon sa mga weaker countries like the Philippines to challenge yung mga powerful countries like China. Pero yung China is also adept to asymmetrical warfare when it comes to US, no? So, sa tingin niyo ba may malaking tulong itong nangyayaring asymmetrical warfare, no, against China sa West Philippine Sea? So, unahin na si Rodney.
Sa akin, Manny, yung alam mo, yung asymmetrical warfare, yung concept na yan, Mao Zedong yan eh. Mao Zedong tot eh, di ba? They were just starting out in 1949. Siyempre, papaligiran sila ng US, ng Japan, that are militarily superior to them at that time. No? So, it worked for them, Manny. So, why shouldn't it work for the Philippines? No? Kailangan we need to find a way to overcome yung technological, numerical advantage ng China to our benefit. No? So, to the Philippines' benefit. And I think yung concept nga ng yung strategy nga ng assertive transparency is part of asymmetrical warfare for us, no? Yung weapon system, Manny, alam mo, we are in the 21st century na eh. Yung weapons, pati yung definition ng weapons, nag-change na eh. So information now is a weapon, no? Propaganda is, well, it's always been a weapon. Pero yung concept ng weaponry, nag-evolve na rin as technology progresses. So AI is a weapon. And alam mo naman natin, Manny, no? Ang daming mga hackers sa atin, no? So mga Pilipino na we proudly claim to be the author of the I Love You virus, no? Yung virus na kinreate ng isang Pinoy hacker na sa katuwaan lang, nakalimutan niya mag-create rin ng serum, no? So, we can utilize that mind power sa response sa Chinese na technology, yung advantage nila sa cyber, sa yung mga kinetic and non-kinetic forms of warfare. No? That's first.
So, Colonel Agap, anong tingin nyo sa asymmetrical warfare?
Yeah, most definitely, Manny, yung asymmetrical warfare, in a way, it simply means na ito yung strategy and tactics na ginagamit ng mahinang protagonist laban sa malakas na antagonist. So basically yun lang yung ibig sabihin ng asymmetrical warfare. Hindi pantay yung laban kung army to army because one is way weaker. So ang gagamitin ng mahina na yan syempre sa asymmetrical warfare strategy and tactics like guerrilla warfare, for instance. And of course, yun nga, the Chinese are even known for inventing that. Sun Tzu, di ba? Yung nga, ginamit ng Chinese Communist Party against the nationalists before World War II and after World War II hanggang sa pinatakbo nila yung mga nationalists sa Taiwan. In the Philippines, it's the same concept that's been used by the local communist insurgency against the armed forces of the Philippines. Ganon din, even nga yung organizational structure ng local communist insurgency like the CPP, NPA, NDF, asymmetrical din yun eh. So, yeah, and it's also total. The point na, yun nga, everything is weaponized today, it's really very true, di ba? Yung weapon ngayon is not just military arms. It's everything really that anyone can weaponize against anybody. So we are already there because of the internet age, of course. So kaya nga yung sinasabi ko nga na when we redefine, what does victory mean, right? What does strategic objective mean? Do we really have to militarily subjugate another country for us to say that we've won? How can you achieve that in the 21st century when everything will be destroyed, di ba? We are now in the nuclear age. We are now even some conventional weapons are really very strong. It will render cities practically leveled. Just look at the cities in the Middle East, di ba? Gaza, West Bank, ganyan. I mean, everywhere really. Madali namang ayusin siguro din. We can always rebuild, but still, the cost of lives and property are just devastating. So, having said that, parang any entity that's really weak, pwede talagang gumamit ng any kind of asymmetrical warfare weapon today. Terrorism, di ba? Terrorism, yung mga, di ba, galing tayo sa age of terrorism din. Asymmetrical warfare din ang ginamit nila. Bakit nila binombo yung World Trade Center? Kasi gustong ipakita nitong mga, this is how we bring America down to its knees. Parang gano'n yun, di ba? Whether the objective is achieved is debatable, of course. Pero I think sa panahon ngayon, swak na swak din yung yung asymmetrical warfare kasi nasa age of na rin tayo ngayon, di ba? Military drones, ganyan, di ba? Weaponization of commercial drones. So even
that in Ukraine, no?
Even Ukraine na mahina relative to Russia, nakakalabanan niya yung Russia, and Russia is unable to really, achieve decisive victory over Ukraine because of Ukraine's asymmetrical warfare against Russia using drones. So in fact, yun ngayon ang lesson sa atin ngayon lahat that's contemplating war like China on Taiwan, ganyan. Even tayo, of course, we should take advantage of asymmetrical warfare, especially drones against China if it comes to that. So sa palagay ko, magandang dapat yun ang ginagawa ng Pilipinas ngayon na investing in that today.
And so, hindi na bibili ng F-16, drones na lang.
Depende kasi sa realities din yan, Manny. Di ba, siyempre, maganda kung meron we have both actually. Kaya lang, given our limited resources nga, di ba, anong uunahin mo, ganyan, di ba? So, pero siyempre, kakailanganin mo pa rin yung yung manned weapons, wala ring substitute doon Pero malaki ang magagawa ng especially for weaker countries.
Like
pero pero pag yan ang pag-usapan din natin, Manny, marami ring yan there are so many intricacies that will have to come to mind even yung acquisition natin ng weaponry, even towards asymmetrical warfare, rin yan dapat pinag-iisipan din yan di ba? What is the use of accumulating a hodgepodge of weaponry, for example, from different suppliers? Paano natin ma-integrate yan sa ating military doctrines, our warfighting way of fighting, really? So, maraming question Not to mention our domestic problems. Siphoning off our very limited resources already.
Pero shifting to higher gear, parang na separate discussion. Kasi we saw the United States fighting two theater wars, one European and one Pacific during World War II. Pero there are some experts who are now saying that the U.S. can no longer fight a two-theater front, So, si President Trump is saying that he will concentrate more on the Indo-Pacific. And he's, I think, pulling out some troops in Europe and cutting resources and then putting it in the Indo-Pacific. tingin nyo ba, Colonel, tama itong ginagawa ni President Trump?
I think from a strategic standpoint, may logic yung ganyan na strategy ni President Trump. Kasi sa Europe, at least you have NATO there. The members of NATO are more powerful countries and they have long been allies of the United States as proven since World Wars I and II, right? Pero sa Asia Pacific, Indo-Pacific region, syempre, it's not as robust as that kind of a mix as in Europe. Kasi ang merong alliance ang Amerika sa Asia Pacific region is of course Japan, South Korea, Australia, yung mga ganyan eh. But the rest of the other nations in the region, hindi masasabi naman ng Amerika na yung relationship niya dyan sa mga yan eh, kamukha ng relationship niya with NATO, di ba? So I think that there's a logical strategic sense in that prioritization of America towards the Indo-Pacific region than Europe. Isa pa, iba na yung sitwasyon nung World War II at saka ngayon eh. Nung World War II, syempre mas mabagal yung pick up ng any development and concentration of power. Mas mabagal noon eh, pero ngayon mas mabilis eh because of the internet age, because of the weaponization of information, of cyberspace, even technological weapons like drones, di ba? Wala naman yan noon eh, pero ngayon they're all over. So having said that, even yung sinabi ko na may sense yung strategy ni President Trump na ganun, even that is in a way diminished by the realities of today compared to World War II. Di ba? China, for instance, believes na whatever a superpower like America does, it is now capable of blunting. Kasi ang China kasi, over the years, these past years na US was distracted. Di ba, ngayon lang natin, a lot of the analysts now realize na ngayon lang natin nakikita na kung gaano kalawak at kalalim yung na-i-invest ng China globally. I mean, nakatago kasi eh. Pero yung BRI niya, yung investment niya sa infrastructure everywhere, di ba? Ports, communication. I mean, ito yung way niya na naikalat niya yung kanyang power and reach globally. Kasi na-realize ng China finally na konektado talaga yung ekonomiya, malakas na ekonomiya sa military and political power, right? It learned its difficult lesson when it was isolationist before. And syempre, umalis na siya doon, so it's communist but capitalist in its economic ways, right? So,
yes, correct.
So in a way, parang na-achieve ng China din yung hindi kayang i-achieve ng Amerika eh. Why do I say that? Kasi yung China nga is authoritarian, di ba? Centralized power emanates from the Communist Party. So kaya niyang utusan yung buong China, na without any opposition or barrier. Samantalang ang Amerika, it's a democracy, right? Kailangan mag-debate muna yung mga Republicans and Democrats para lang mayroong mangyari. So that is a weakness in the eyes of China, and they've seen that a long time ago, even when the world was a moral order after World War II, right? So nakatago yun eh. And then there was a time na because of that, even us all over the world thought na, no way na yan ang dominant na ideological theory, ang communism na yan. Kasi tira mo naman na nangyari, bumagsak ang USSR, ganyan, North. But now, all of a sudden, we are seeing na ang lakas-lakas ng communism. Because of its centralized power, di ba? Well, that's one thing of that's one way of looking at it. There's another way too. And now, yung ginagawa ng Amerika, di ba, parang nagda-double time si Trump eh, na teka muna, yung nagawa ng dapat ganun din tayo, dapat din tayo. So, may mga authoritarian tendencies nga si Trump. But in America wanted that. The Republicans want that. Kasi it's their way of going against yung woke or whatever that they thought was a cancel culture that made America weak. And now, it's MAGA time. Ganun na nangyayari sa mundo ngayon eh. Oh. But having said that though, I still believe na in the end, truth will win out.
Okay.
Kasi ang problema ng authoritarianism naman, it uses truth to achieve its goal, right? Kaya lang, ganun ba talaga yan, di ba? In the end, the truth is the truth, whatever you make of it, di ba? It's the weapon of it's an asymmetrical and effective weapon, truth. Yung sinasabi niyo na si General Bronner says these things, I believe that. Yung truth versus lies, di ba? So yung ngayon ang so I think yun ang weakness ng yun naman ang weakness ng
China.
Ng China. So any weak country really can win against a powerful enemy via asymmetrical warfare using truth. And I think it's a more powerful weapon.
So Ronnie, ganun din bang iyong pananaw?
Yeah, we have to go back kasi Manny, no? Yung noong 1930s, yung US is I think roughly in the same position as it is now, no? Yung Germany and Japan were the nascent powers, no? Sila yung rising superpowers ng region, no? They were building up their military and they were fully mobilized for conflict. Eh yung American nun, Great Gatsby era yun eh, di ba? Pasayaw-sayaw, painom-inom, prohibition, tinatago yung naghahabulan doon sa alak, no? Kasi pinagbawal yung mga alak. So, it was only after Pearl Harbor, no? Talagang napukaw yung US. And the US, like Colonel Acop said, had a inherent, may inherent strength siya in the sense na malaki yung industrial base ng Amerika eh. So, it's just a matter of mobilizing it. So, yun ang parang yun ang pilit na ginagawa ni President Trump ngayon, no? Ang problema lang is hindi pa yata masyadong defined yung actual threat. Kasi nung time na yon, nung 1940s, na talagang ang daming Pearl Harbor killed a lot of Americans. So, and the threat of a Nazi Europe, even if it wasn't really that appreciated before Pearl Harbor, nag-galvanize na rin yung focus ng Americans. So, what China and I guess Russia should be worried about, should be fearful, is ma-mobilize yung industrial base ng Amerika, no? In such a way na parang World War II, no? Na nangyari na after Pearl Harbor na the America suddenly rearmed, no? And yung nangyari nung 1940s showed that if America wants to rearm, it can rearm rapidly. Hindi katulad ng Germany or Russia na medyo since the war is being waged on their own land, na nasisira yung mga pabrika nila dun eh. Eh sa Amerika may safe base no? Safe base. So unless na China or Russia can find a way of decimating yung industrial base ng US, within US itself, it's a matter of time before they are defeated. Sabi nga nila World War II raw was more of a war of factories, no? Who could produce the better arms faster and better, no? So think that is also what is happening now. Medyo natutulog pa Amerika, So wag na nilang, I don't know. Nila yun, no? Si Admiral Yamamoto, di ba? He warned na do not steer the sleeping giant. When he was because he spent a long time in Washington as a attaché, no? So, naiintindihan niya yung psyche ng Amerikano eh. And I guess it's up to Putin and Xi if they want to test that old concept, yung concept from World War II, na to not wake the sleeping giant. Kasi baka mabugbog ka ng todo. No?
So in closing, ang tingin nyo ba, anong mga mangyayari in the next few months or in the next 1 year dito sa Indo-Pacific, no? Lalo-lalo na sa West Philippine Sea at sa Taiwan. Do you see escalation or do you see a war coming in the near future? So, Colonel, what can you say about that?
Yeah, at the end of the day, medyo there's a part of us that can sense na things might go bad, ano? Kasi syempre pero right now I think yung mundo is at a point na para bang things are developing, and I think the danger that I see is that dumadating tayo sa punto na no one can really control it. Like for example, di ba ultimately nuclear threat ang problema ng mundo, di ba? Will the world never really go to that level? Di ba? Alam naman natin na there are no winners kasi sa ganung klaseng conflict eh. Okay, secondly, even the use of conventional, kaya lang when we talk of weapons, ang problema sa even conventional warfare is that ultimately it might lead to a nuclear confrontation. For example, even Russia, China, even the United States, siyempre, pagka nagyabang sila, nagsabi sila na kaya namin ito, siyempre kasi alam nila kaya nila eh. But nobody wants it. No, kasi alam nga nila na wala namang mananalo dyan eh. Pero pag na-corner ka na and talagang tatalunin ka na, what are you going to do? There might be elements in your defense or in your country na magsasabi na sige na lang, gamitin natin yung nukes natin kasi it is our ultimate defensive weapon, otherwise wala na, ganyan. So there's that. Another thing is relative dun sa nabanggit ni Rodney kanina about the difference in World War II and now nga. I hope so. I would like to believe na meron pang ganong edge ang America, for instance. But kasi we have to also we also have to realize na even especially China is also economically and technologically superior eh. It is not like Japan in World War II or even Germany in World War II. These are strong nations, but yung level ng reach and power ng economic power ng China, do you think it's the same as the one that Germany had in World War II or even Japan? Di ba? You must remember na Japan went to war kasi nga wala na siyang oil eh. Kinurtail ng Amerika.
Walang resources.
Yeah. Germany, ganon din. But Germany thought na it was very strong and kaya lang, wala pang concepts of of being a regional or global power. Para sa kanila nakala nila talunin lang namin ng Amerika, the world is ours. But I don't think the world is like that now. I think yung power is spread out. I think China thinks na lamang siya. So hindi ko alam kung ano pang hakabulin ng Amerika kung sakaling magsuntukan eh. Sa totoo lang. Nandun na sa ring na yung China, inaantay na lang niya eh. Yung Amerika, pumasok ka. Di ba? Parang ganun ang tingin ko eh. So, I don't know. It seems to me like things are developing and countries are pursuing their national interests logically to where it takes them. Pero yung mangyayari talaga, given its internet age, given its drone warfare, there's a danger. There's a danger na political leaders may not be able to control. Even the Communist Party might not be able to control. So I think the danger is that the world is headed towards that. And I hope yung mechanisms of world peace na naitalagan ng United Nations after World War II, hindi nila masyadong kalimutan kasi yun ang pag-asa na maiwasan ng global war. Otherwise, I think the world to be honest about it, is headed that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Rodney, tingin mo,
Yeah. I share the sentiment ni Colonel Akop na there is a trend, no? Visible na yung trend na unfortunately and very sadly, we are headed that way. Pero as far as the South China Sea is concerned, yung conflict doon is siguro we will see China parang gagawin nilang parang habit na yung mga collision na yan. It will not become especially between the Chinese Coast Guard and alam mo yun, yung mga small boats natin, BIFAR, no? Mapadalas yan. Kasi ang objective ng China sa tingin ko is maging habit na ba? Parang hindi na nakakagulat na nagbabanggaan yung mga barko doon. Until that point na magkasakita na talaga, no? May matay na dyan sa mga na yan, yung water cannoning na yan, tsaka yung collision. Parang ang nangyayari ngayon, nagpapalitan na sila ng accusations, yung Philippines tsaka China. Parang settled na sila doon. And because China is effectively in control already of like Scarborough Shoal and other parts of the West Philippine Sea. So yun ang dapat natin bantayan, na wag sana maging parang kasanayan, no? Kasanayan na itong mga insidente na to, wag na nating tingnan na parang it's ordinary, wag tayo mag-settle in na magiging routine na itong mga provocations ng China. Every incident should be confronted, no? And the conflict, I think, like Colonel Akop said, is spreading. Yung 10-dash line will expand the ICAD to Taiwan, and India, no? Magdadamay. Pero ang isa doon, Mogs, nakakatuwa doon is baka finally, yung Indonesia at saka Malaysia, sumama na sa atin, no? I mean, ASEAN is a joke right now, no? As far as a common response to Chinese provocation is concerned. Philippines at saka Vietnam talagang nag-assert. Sana, kung mangyari man yung what we see will happen because of that expansion of Chinese activities, masama na yung buong ASEAN, no? Or at least majority of ASEAN sa laban natin. So, yun lang naman ang strength natin, numbers, no? We can only fight back against China if we have the coalition behind us. So, that's what I see for Southeast Asia.
So, ladies, gentlemen, no? Parang ang future natin is very bleak, no? Yeah. Tingin nyo na the incidents in West Philippine Sea is escalating, and China's ambition in Taiwan is also very dangerous, no? And very fearful na that could lead to a confrontation between the Americans and the Chinese over Taiwan. So let's see what will happen in the next 2 years or in the near future when it comes to the security in the Indo-Pacific region. So thank you very much, Colonel Akop and Rodney Jaleco, for joining me in today's episode of the Asia Pacific Insights podcast, no? And we hope that we can have a third episode next month to discuss more security issues in our region. So thank you very much, and good day to everyone, and we hope that you join us again in future episodes of the API podcast. Thank you.